ditching a grand plan. A huge blow for SailGP. And a big gun quits. It's all kicking off at the pro end of the sport, and it's made plenty of headlines. But are they just that, headlines, or are they more significant? Typical. I spend a month in New Zealand and no sooner have I headed back up top than one of the biggest news stories of the Cup breaks, as Emirates Team New Zealand's three-time Cup winning helmsman Peter Burling says he's leaving the team. For Kiwis supporters, this is a big blow, just weeks after it was announced that the next Cup would not be in Auckland. Burling has been at the centre of an impressive run of successes and has left just as the team faces an even tougher challenge for a fourth defence. The performance gap between the challengers and defender is closing, and now the Kiwis have lost a key player. So what happened? According to team boss Grant Dalton, they couldn't come to an agreement and time ran out. He also said that while people had to race, the Cup has to be their #1 priority, before going on to say that in his mind, it should be their only priority, as you won't win 4 times if it's not. On top of that, he said it was one of the hardest decisions he's ever had to make. In short, this doesn't sound like a planned exit. Apart from a few quotes in the press release and some social media posts, we haven't heard from Burling on why he's left. Some believe he might have been holding out for a bigger deal going forwards. Others point to his commitment as a new father. But the biggest issue would seem to be the clash between his time in the Cup and SailGP, where he's the CEO of the Black Foils team, which is not connected to the America's Cup team. SailGP is a big commitment with a relentless Formula 1 style schedule. Doing both would be quite a commitment, and according to Dalton, not possible. So will he pop up in another team? Well, maybe, but the strict nationality rules mean that he's unlikely to be on board another boat. He could take on an advisory role, but I'm still not so sure. He doesn't really fit with the hands-on sailor that he is. I guess it could be for the money, but again, I'm not so sure about that either. What does seem likely is that the strict nationality rules set by the Cup holders, in other words Grant Dalton, are unlikely to change. But looking from a different angle, how serious is this for the Kiwis? Co-helmsman Nathan Outridge is an exceptional sailor and demonstrated in Barcelona how important he was to the team, especially when it came to close quarters tactics. It seems likely that he'll now move to the starboard side. The task will be finding a co-pilot. During the last Cup, one thing that stood out was that the Kiwis didn't seem to have quite the same firepower in the Youth America's Cup as, say, the Italians or the Americans. On the other hand, they do have plenty of talent in the team, and I certainly wouldn't bet against them. The great thing about the Cup boats, be they the 75s or indeed the 40s, is that they have a co-pilot, a live coach, and with Outridge in the opposite seat, that surely makes the transition that much easier. With deadlines for the venue announcement and protocol looming, Dalton and his team have plenty on at the moment. And despite the rumours and chatter about friction behind the scenes leading up to this, I believe him when he says he really didn't want this. In a local TV interview, he went even further to say that losing Burling wasn't the same as the crisis that the Kiwi team faced 25 years ago, when the top talent walked to Alinghi. He's clearly aware of what the locals will be thinking after a month of disappointing news. Meanwhile, anyone with a contract with INEOS Britannia now finds themselves with more time on their hands than they'd hoped for, after team owner Sir Jim Radcliffe announced that he was not proceeding with his Cup campaign. In a statement, he blamed Ben Ainslie's team, Athena Racing, for a delay in securing a deal that meant he had to withdraw. Really? I don't know what the deal was, but what we do know is that the dates, the venue and the structure of the 38th Cup is yet to be published. Given what he was saying in Barcelona last year, I'm not that surprised that he's pulled the pin on the campaign. I'm also not surprised to see that Ainslie & Co have remained silent. One of the key issues in the bust-up seems to be over who owns what as the pair head towards an official divorce. And this raises a few interesting issues. The Mercedes Formula One team were a big part of INEOS Britannia's performance last year. Ben Ainslie's design team moved there, and you could argue that he'll need this kind of help in the next campaign. But INEOS have a third share in the F1 team, making it difficult to see how that relationship would work going forwards. Except that, on the other hand, the partnership was good for Mercedes too, because it meant that they could provide work for some of their technical team that might have had to go after the Formula One spending cap came into play in 2021. Presumably, they'd like to see that partnership continue, especially as the spending cap has now been reduced. Maybe this was part of the deal that Radcliffe was referring to. For Ben Ainslie though, the next Cup campaign looks tough once again, but he and the team have been there before. Meanwhile, SailGP are into new and uncomfortable territory following the news that they've had to cancel the Brazilian Grand Prix that was due to happen in May. This is a huge blow for the series that has set itself a massive challenge with the relentless 14-event schedule this season. The news came following the analysis of the broken wingsail on the Australian boat, which, according to the report, revealed an issue with the bonding of the core material in the shear web of some of the wingsails, defects that could compromise their structural integrity. With 3 failures so far, there seemed little other choice than to pause the circuit and make repairs. The hope is that the fleet will be ready to race in New York at the beginning of June. Who knows how much of a big ask that is, but I've been hearing rumblings and concerns about how hard these boats are pushed and in what state they're in. Aside from the major logistical challenges of repairing a big nomadic fleet of 50-foot cats, the issue does highlight one of the major risks of a one design event. A problem for one could be a problem for all. And as the fleet has grown to its biggest and busiest so far, so too has the pressure to deliver. Hopefully the fleet will be back on track for the next event, but achieving it is a far bigger task than you might think. Meanwhile, from the outside, it's interesting to see the stresses and strains in the Cup and SailGP, which both highlight how hard it is to keep the pressure on at the leading edge of the sport. Now, finally, and while talking about one designs, here's a race to keep an eye on, the Transat Paprec. You might not have heard of it, but it's been around for a while. It actually started in 1992 and has run every other year since. It's a double-handed mixed-gender race, just under 4,000 miles long, that starts in Concarneau in France and finishes in St Bart's in the Caribbean, and is run in Beneteau Figaro 3s, the curvy daggerboard 32-footers that are used in the Solitaire de Figaro. To find out more, I spoke to one of the British teams in the event, Ellie Driver and Ollie Hill. You may remember that we spoke to Ellie ahead of the 2023 Rolex Fastnet race, where she was sailing double-handed with her father, Jim. Ellie, tell us a bit about this race then. It's been going on for quite some time, hasn't it? It started actually a long time ago in 92, and it's had different names along the way. But give us an overview about the race, because it's a long one.
Yeah, so it's transatlantic race, starts in Concarneau in France, and then we go around Las Palmas in the Canaries, and then we go over to St Bart's in the Caribbean. So it's a bit longer than the Rourke Transatlantic with the extra leg at the start, and it's a mixed race, so each crew is one girl and one boy, which I think is great for giving more opportunities in the sport at quite a high level. So it's going to be a big challenge, both mental and physical. So it's going to take around 20 days. It's just short of 4,000 miles, I think. So a big challenge.
How big a step up is that? I mean, you're very experienced offshore, there's no question about that. But how big a step up is this for you?
Yeah, so I think I haven't done a race as long as this. The longest race I've done would be the Round Britain and Ireland. So that was 14 days. And I think it's quite a different challenge to that. That had lots of turning marks and, you're right next to the coast the entire time. And there's kind of always something to do, and you can quite often see the next boat, or you're on AAS because there's so many tidal gates. And then I think this is a completely different kind of mindset where, are you going to drive in the next hour or tomorrow? It's a completely different long game mindset that you've got, and you can organize yourself in terms of the weather systems, but you can't organize yourself in terms of, right, okay, we've got such and such time until a tidal gate or till we've round this next island, because effectively there's only 2 marks in the course. So I think it's going to be a little bit different, and keeping yourself at the top of your game and keep trying to hit the polars, and especially when you can't see the other boats or see them on AAS, because I think the fleet's going to be quite compact, but it doesn't take much for the fleet to be 5-10 miles apart sidewards rather than in front of each other. So I think we're really going to have to trust our own ability to keep going, and then use the updates of the AS positions when we have them from the tracker.
There's Ollie, there's 19 teams in this race, and the Figaro class, whatever boat it's been in, frankly, has always been notorious for being intense competition. One, are you expecting that to be the same? And two, how have you prepared for this? What how have you prepared, and what are your goals?
So yeah, the sailors here are the best in the world at what they do. So the people that we're sailing with and their experience is second to none. So yeah, the challenge of just sailing against these people is massive. I think we've been based with the Lorient Grand Large training group since January, which compared to some of the other competitors' experience is nothing, but we feel like we've gained a lot of learning in quite a short period of time. And I guess in terms of our goals, I think I guess the first goal is just to try and make it, because it's not, just finishing is not an achievement. And then I think if we can stay in touch with the fleet and just sail fast and just sail smart and enjoy it, then I think we're happy. So we certainly don't have a number in mind.
Or if we do, we'll keep that in our head until the finish.
And I think, with 3 months experience, I think we're quite realistic that this is a learning race for us, and just to make sure we get to the end happy.
Yeah, no, well, good stuff. I mean, as I say, it's a race that's been going for some time, and we've seen some big names come out of it in the long term. Is this race seen by you and the rest of the competitors as a bit of a pathway to some of the other races in the offshore scene, maybe even a pathway to Mockers and ultimately, I guess, the Vendée Globe? Is that how you see it? Is that the bigger picture, actually?
Yeah, I think definitely. If you look at the majority of the Vendée Globe sailors and the winners, majority of them have come from the Figaro class. And I think it's just an amazing testing ground where you can learn with one design boats side by side, and I don't think there's a class quite like it. And I think the caliber of sailors that it encourages to join, it just means that you've got a class that gives brilliant sailors at the end of it, because you're just racing against the best.
It wasn't that long ago that Charlie Dallin and Johan Richomme were sailing together.
Yeah, says it all, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's all you got to do is just follow what they did, and you'll be there. I mean, I joke about it, but what was the appeal? Why this race? Why did you set your focus on this race?
I guess it's a massive challenge. So it's not just a race; it's a bit of an adventure as well, because it's so long and so hard. And then I guess for us, with relatively little experience in the class, it's probably the most efficient and quickest way that you can get lots of experience sailing the boats. We're probably doing a season's worth of sailing in this one race. So for us, when we're on a bit of catch up with the rest of the fleet, I think it's quite an efficient way of trying to get quick fast.
And what are the plans, if you haven't? Yeah, I presume you have. Once you've completed the race, what are the plans for the rest of the season? Is this part of a bigger plan?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've basically got a packed season for the rest of it. So after this, we've got the Tour de Bretagne, which is a double-handed like stops race around Brittany. And then we've got the Tourvoir with the Rourke Griffin team. So that's 4 up with lots of stops around France and the UK actually. And then what's after that? It goes into the solo scene. So currently I'm going to do the Solitaire di Figaro, and the race before that, that's the preparatory race for it. And hopefully Ollie's going to be doing it as well. And we'll see. That's kind of rounds up this year with the Figaro Nationals. So it is not this race in it. There is a packed race.
And trying to cram some of the Rourke season in as well.
And the Rourke
We've
season.
got a month off after the race, and I think we're doing 2 or 3 Rourke races in that time as well. So.
And the Fastnet?
Yeah, and the Fastnet.
Yeah, you're doing the Fastnet on Zephyr.
Yeah, packing it all in.
Right.
Currently, I'm not sure if I'm doing it yet, but I'd love to do it, but not sure.
Now, look, Ellie, I have to ask, because there'd be people of a certain age who'd be worried about what's happened to your poor old dad. I mean, there he was, putting in all the hours and taking a fair bit of grief, I'm sure, from you, pushing him rather hard. But what's he up to?
Oh, he definitely did put in grief, or put up with grief rather. No, he is doing his own sailing in the Rourke season. He's doing a bit of sailing on Diablo with Nick Martin, and they're doing the Fastnet, amongst other races. And he's also the chair of the Rourke Griffin committee at the minute, which is amazing. Just helping more youth get into sailing. He clearly has a passion for it, and he did rather well with me. So he's just trying to pass it on to as many youth as he can.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like you trained him well, so I'm very impressed. Fantastic. Well, it's very exciting to hear of your plans and what you're up to this season. The best of luck with the race. Do keep us posted, won't you? Drop us a line. Do feel free to drop us a line anywhere along the course, but also when you get to the other side, we'd love to know how it all went. But Ellie and Ollie, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
When Baltic Yachts announced their new 68-footer, they described it as a cafe racer. They said that the link to the cool, powerful, minimalist motorcycles of the 1960s was intentional. But perhaps what they weren't expecting was for their cafe racer to be quite so popular. Apart from its striking looks, at 20 tonnes the 68 is a light boat. That means it's easily driven, performs well, and is easy to handle thanks to the light loads for a boat of this size. With electric sail control systems and no backstays, it's also a simple boat to handle. The use of structured luff sails allow the gear changes to be made through the use of the Cunningham. And then there's the performance. In 21 knots of wind, the 68s are already hitting 23 to 24 knots. Coupled with the ability to customise the interior, the Cafe Racer has not only proved very popular, with 4 launched to date, but is potent on the racecourse too. When the Trans-Quadra race fleet arrives in Martinique after their transatlantic race from France, it's a big deal. The race for solo and double-handed amateur sailors over 40 years old is very popular. And one of the key factors has been how Sevenstar Yacht Transport help owners to get their boats back home. This year's fleet saw 39 monohulls complete the course, finishing in February. 1 month later, 25 were on their way back to Lorient in Brittany with their masts up. The ship can lift boats directly with its cranes, making loading a far simpler exercise for the ship and the owners. This means that boats can arrive alongside the ship every 25 minutes, making it a very efficient process. And one that is made possible thanks to the carefully planned loading procedure that's created using specialist software to simulate the precise layout on deck. This also helps the unloading, in time for the all-important Spee West Regatta in La Trinité. It's been in development for 2 years, and now Henri Lloyd have launched it, their new dynamic sailing range. The new kit, which includes jackets and salopettes, is lightweight and rugged and lends itself well to a wide range of boats, from J70s through Cape 31s, TP52s and beyond. A new advanced 3-layer fabric is at the heart of the new range, which allows high levels of wind resistance and waterproofing, along with excellent breathability. The Dry Pro fabric also benefits from two-way stretch, which makes it very easy to move in while maintaining a snug fit. In the long list of clever features, the low-profile impact protection for knees in the new Salopettes is a good example. In addition, Dynamic is the first marine range to have 100% PFC-free durable water repellent coating. In California, it's already the law, as it will be in Europe in 2 years. More evidence to support the company's claim that the new range is a big step forward.